I changed every single beneficiary on my retirement accounts at 4:17 a.m. that Tuesday morning. My hands didn't shake as I clicked through the digital forms on my laptop. The blue screen glow the only light in my kitchen. The house was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of old floorboards. Rachel had no idea what I'd just done. She thought she was already set to inherit everything. She thought I was too trusting, too grateful for her help, too old to notice what was really happening. Let me back up. My name is Thomas Sullivan. I'm 64 years old, and until 8 months ago, I thought I had a devoted daughter. Not perfect, but devoted. Someone I could count on. Rachel was my youngest child, the baby of the family. Her older brother Michael had died in a car accident when he was 28, 15 years ago now. That loss nearly destroyed me and my wife Linda. But we had Rachel, and somehow we all survived it together. Linda passed away 2 years ago. Ovarian cancer. Stage 4 by the time they found it. She lasted 6 months from diagnosis to death. Rachel was there through all of it. She flew in from Charlotte every other weekend, sat with her mother during chemo, held Linda's hand when the pain got too bad for words. At the funeral, Rachel delivered a eulogy that had the entire church in tears. She talked about how Linda had taught her to be strong, to be independent, to always look out for family. After Linda died, I was alone in our 3-bedroom house in Asheville, North Carolina. The house we'd bought in 1989 for $135,000, now worth probably $650,000 in this crazy mountain real estate market. But more than that, I had the retirement savings Linda and I had built over 35 years of work. I'd been an electrical engineer at a manufacturing plant. Linda had been a school teacher. We'd lived modestly, saved aggressively. Between my 401k, IRA, and pension, I was sitting on roughly $900,000. For the first year after Linda's death, I managed okay. I had my routines: morning coffee on the back deck, looking at the mountains, volunteering at the Veterans Center on Mondays and Thursdays. I'm a Vietnam vet, did a tour in '71. Lunch with my buddy Frank twice a week. Video calls with Rachel every Sunday evening at 6 p.m. sharp. She'd tell me about her work as a pharmaceutical sales rep, about her husband Kyle's construction business, about my grandson Cameron, who was 12. Everything seemed normal. Good, even. I was proud of how well she'd done for herself. Then last February, Rachel called on a Wednesday, not a Sunday. "Dad," she said, and I could hear something tight in her voice. "I need to talk to you about something serious." My first thought was health. Cancer, like Linda. But no, Kyle's business went under, she said. The contractor he was subcontracting for declared bankruptcy. Kyle's owed $240,000. We'll never see it. "Dad, we're in trouble. Real trouble. We refinanced the house last year to expand the business. The mortgage is $4,200 a month. Cameron's private school is $18,000 a year. We've been burning through our savings for 6 months trying to stay afloat." I felt that automatic parent response, that deep need to fix things for your child no matter how old they get. "How much do you need?" I asked. There was a pause, and I heard her take a shaky breath. "Dad, it's not that simple. We need about $60,000 just to catch up on what we're behind on. But honestly, we need to make bigger changes. We're thinking of selling the house, downsizing. And Dad, you're all alone in that big house. What if something happened? What if you fell and nobody found you for days?" She painted it carefully. They were thinking of moving to Asheville. Cost of living was lower than Charlotte. They could get a smaller place. I wouldn't be alone. Kyle could find construction work locally. Cameron could go to public school. And I could help with Cameron sometimes, give them some breathing room. "I'm doing fine on my own," I said, more defensive than I meant to sound. "I know, Dad. I know you are. But wouldn't it be nice to have family around? Cameron barely knows his grandfather. Mom would have wanted us to stick together." She used Linda's name like a skeleton key, and just like that, she was in. They moved to Asheville in March. Found a rental house 10 minutes from mine. Rachel said they were looking for something to buy, but the market was tough. Kyle said he was networking, trying to get his business going again. Meanwhile, Rachel started coming over a lot. 3, 4 times a week. At first, it was nice. She'd bring groceries, cook dinner, help me clean out Linda's clothes that I still couldn't bring myself to donate. Cameron would come over after school sometimes, and I'd help him with his math homework. It felt like family again. It felt less lonely, but small things started to nag at me. Rachel began asking detailed questions about my finances. How much was my pension? How much did I have saved? What were my monthly expenses? She framed it as concern. Dad, I just want to make sure you're managing everything okay. I know Mom used to handle a lot of the bills. That was true. Linda had been better with paperwork, with organization, but I'd been handling everything fine for 2 years. I told Rachel that. I know. I just worry, that's all. Then she started talking about power of attorney. We were sitting on my back deck one Saturday in April. She'd brought lunch from that deli I liked. She had a folder with her. Dad, I've been reading about estate planning. You have a will, right? Of course I do. Your mother and I drew them up years ago. Right. But have you updated it since Mom died? And do you have powers of attorney set up? What do you mean? Power of attorney means if something happens to you, if you're in the hospital or can't make decisions, someone can handle your affairs. Pay your bills, make medical decisions. Without it, everything gets tied up in court. It's a nightmare. She opened the folder. There were forms inside, official looking. I had these drawn up. Just standard durable power of attorney forms. One for financial, one for medical. All it means is if you're ever unable to handle things, I can step in and help. You maintain complete control otherwise. Something in my gut twisted. I thought about Linda. She always said I had good instincts about people, that I could smell bullshit from a mile away. That's what had kept me alive in Vietnam. I need to think about it, I said. Rachel's face did something. Just a flicker. Annoyance? Frustration? Then it was gone, replaced by the concerned daughter mask. Of course, Dad. Absolutely. I just thought it would give you peace of mind. But yeah, take your time. Talk to your lawyer if you want. The next day, I called Benjamin Hart. Ben had been my lawyer for 20 years. Handled our wills, some property stuff, a dispute with a contractor back in 2015. Tom, Ben said when I described the situation, don't sign anything without bringing it to me first. And I mean anything. Power of attorney documents can be tricky. In the wrong hands, they're dangerous. I made an appointment for the following Thursday, but I didn't tell Rachel. That's when I started paying closer attention, really paying attention. I noticed Rachel had started going through my mail before I saw it. She'd come over and the mail would already be opened, sorted into piles on my kitchen counter. Just helping organize things, Dad? You had some bills that were due. I noticed Kyle asking questions about the house. How much had I paid for it? When had I last had it appraised? Was it paid off? Just curious, he said. Real estate's crazy right now. You could probably sell this place for a fortune. I noticed Rachel taking photos of rooms in my house, my home office, the master bedroom, the garage with Linda's car still in it, the '04 Honda Accord. I couldn't bring myself to sell. For memories, she said when I asked. I want Cameron to remember his grandmother's house. One evening in early May, Rachel brought over some documents from her insurance agent. Dad, I was reviewing our family's insurance situation, and I realized something. You still have that $250,000 life insurance policy, right? The one you and Mom bought in the 90S? Yeah, whole life policy. It's paid up. Who's the beneficiary? It was your mother. I need to update it to you and Michael's kids. Michael had 2 daughters who were adults now. Right, exactly. And Dad, I wanted to talk to you about something else. Your retirement accounts. Your 401k. Your IRA. Do you know who's listed as beneficiary on those? I'd never really thought about it. I think it's still Linda. Dad, when someone dies, you need to update all your beneficiaries. Otherwise, it goes to your estate and gets tied up in probate. Taxes, legal fees. It's a mess. Here, I printed out the forms. You just need to sign them and I'll submit them to the financial companies for you. She pulled out a stack of papers. Beneficiary designation forms for Vanguard, Fidelity, my pension administrator. All with her name filled in as primary beneficiary. Shouldn't Michael's girls get some? I asked. Well, they're adults with their own lives. And Dad, I'm the one here taking care of you. That's what Mom would have wanted. I didn't sign those forms. I told her I needed to review them with my accountant. Another flash of annoyance on her face. The following week, I met with Ben Hart. I brought the power of attorney forms and the beneficiary forms. Ben read through everything with the expression of a doctor who'd just found something very wrong on an X-ray. Tom, he said slowly, if you sign this durable power of attorney, Rachel can access every bank account you have. She can sell your house. She can change your investment allocations. She can do essentially anything with your finances, and you'd have very limited recourse. But it says it only kicks in if I'm incapacitated. Look at this clause right here. It says, this power of attorney shall be effective immediately upon signing and shall not be affected by the subsequent disability or incapacity of the principal. That means it's active the moment you sign. She wouldn't need to wait for you to be sick or confused. She could use it tomorrow. I felt cold. And these beneficiary forms, Ben continued. Legally, yes, you can name whoever you want. But Tom, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Do you feel safe right now? Do you feel like Rachel has your best interests at heart? I thought about the photos of my house, the questions about money, the way she'd been coming over more and more, inserting herself into every aspect of my life. The way Kyle had started talking about how Asheville real estate was on fire and how I was sitting on a gold mine. I don't know, I said quietly. Ben leaned forward. Tom, what you've described to me fits a pattern I've seen before. It's called financial elder abuse, and it's more common than you think. It starts with moving closer, offering help, isolating you from other support systems. Then it escalates to controlling finances, getting power of attorney, changing beneficiaries. The end game is either getting you declared incompetent and taking control, or waiting for you to die and inheriting everything. Rachel wouldn't do that. She's my daughter, Tom. I've been a lawyer for 32 years. I've seen children do terrible things to their parents for money. I've seen it destroy families. I'm not saying that's definitely what's happening here, but I am saying you need to be very careful. He gave me the name of someone, Patricia Morales, private investigator specializing in financial exploitation cases. Just talk to her, Ben said. Get a professional opinion. If I'm wrong, if Rachel's intentions are pure, then great. But if I'm right, you need to know before it's too late. I met Patricia 3 days later at a coffee shop in West Asheville. She was in her late 40s, former FBI white-collar crime division. How long have they been in town? She asked. 3 months. And the financial questions started immediately? Within a couple weeks? She nodded, making notes. Has Rachel tried to limit your contact with friends? Made it harder for you to see people? I thought about it. Rachel had made comments about Frank, said he was a bad influence, that he lived in the past too much, that spending time with him made me depressed. Yeah, actually, she doesn't like my friend Frank. Classic isolation tactic. What about your finances? Does she know the details? She's been trying to find out, asking a lot of questions. And she's tried to get power of attorney? Yes. Patricia set down her pen. Mr. Sullivan, here's what I think is happening. Your daughter and her husband are in serious financial trouble. They see you as a solution. They're building a case for taking control of your assets, either through power of attorney or by having you declared incompetent. Once they have control, they'll drain everything. The retirement accounts, the house, all of it. How would they get me declared incompetent? I'm perfectly fine. They'd need a doctor's evaluation. But here's the thing. They'd shop around for a doctor who's sympathetic or who doesn't ask too many questions. They'd tell the doctor you're showing signs of dementia, forgetting things, getting confused, making poor financial decisions. They'd provide evidence. And if the doctor writes up an evaluation saying you lack capacity, they can go to court and get guardianship. At that point, you have no say over your own life. The coffee in my stomach turned to acid. What do? We document everything. I'm going to install some small recording devices in your house. North Carolina is a one-party consent state, which means as long as you consent, recording conversations in your own home is legal. We're going to record what Rachel and Kyle say when you're not around. We're going to establish a pattern of behavior. Then we go to Adult Protective Services and possibly the police. The police? Financial exploitation of an elderly person is a crime in North Carolina, Mr. Sullivan. If they're attempting to defraud you, that's a felony. We need evidence, but if we get it, they will face charges. Over the next 2 weeks, Patricia installed 4 small recording devices. 1 in my kitchen, 1 in my living room, 1 in my home office, 1 in the hallway. She also gave me a pen that was actually a recorder. Keep this in your shirt pocket, she said. Record every conversation you have with Rachel or Kyle. For 3 weeks, I watched and listened and recorded, and what I found made me sick. On the living room camera, when I was at the Veterans Center, I watched Rachel go through my file cabinet. She photographed documents, my will, my account statements, my property deed. She found my password notebook, the one Linda had made me keep because I could never remember my online passwords. Rachel took pictures of every single page. On the kitchen camera, I heard Rachel on the phone with Kyle. He's being stubborn about the POA, she said. He wants to talk to his lawyer. Fuck, Kyle's voice came through on speakerphone. Can we go around that? I'm working on it. I'm going to try a different angle. Make him think it was his idea. How much time do we have? I don't know. We're bleeding money, Kyle. The mortgage is 3 months behind. They're threatening foreclosure. We need at least $50,000 immediately, and that's just to stop the bleeding. What about his retirement accounts? Can you access those? Not without him signing the beneficiary forms, or the POA, or if he dies. There was a long pause. We're not talking about that, Rachel said. I'm not saying we do anything. I'm just saying he's 64. He's a vet. He's got health issues. Statistically, how long is he really going to live? Kyle, stop. I'm just saying we need to plan for all scenarios. I stood in my kitchen at midnight, listening to the playback of that recording, and I felt something break inside me. The worst came a week later. I'd gone to bed early, around 9 p.m., but I couldn't sleep. Around 10:30, I heard voices downstairs. Rachel and Kyle were in my living room. I crept to the top of the stairs. We can't wait any longer, Kyle was saying. The bank is going to take our house. We'll be fucking homeless. I know. I'm trying. He won't sign anything. Then we need to do this differently. My cousin Stephanie, her dad had Alzheimer's. She got him evaluated, declared incompetent, took over everything, put him in a home, sold his condo, cleared $400,000. Dad doesn't have Alzheimer's. Who the fuck knows that? He's old. He's alone. I've seen him forget things. Where he put his keys. What day it is. That's enough. We'd need a doctor to evaluate him. I know a guy, Dr. Reynolds. He's done evaluations for disability claims, competency hearings. He's flexible. Flexible? He writes what needs to be written for a fee. Rachel was quiet for a long moment. How much would this cost? $5,000 for the evaluation. But Rachel, we're talking about access to $900,000. Plus the house, another $650,000. That's $1.5 million. Even after paying off our debts, we'd clear $1 million easy. We could move somewhere cheaper, buy a house outright, never worry about money again. What about Dad? Where would he go? There are state facilities. They're not great, but they're free. Or there are cheaper private places, like $3,000 a month. We could afford that. He'd hate that. He'd fight us. Rachel, once he's declared incompetent, it doesn't matter what he wants. You'd be his legal guardian. You'd have complete control. He'd have no say. Another long pause. When could we do the evaluation? Next week if you want. I'll set it up. I went back to my bedroom. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there thinking about Rachel as a little girl. Rachel learning to ride a bike while I ran behind her. Rachel graduating from college. Linda and me so proud. Rachel at Linda's bedside, holding her mother's hand while she died. The next morning, I called Patricia. I have everything, I said. Hours of recordings. What do we do? We met with Patricia and Ben together. They reviewed all the evidence, the recordings, the photographs Rachel had taken, the conversations about declaring me incompetent. This is more than enough, Patricia said. We can go to the police, right now. What happens then? I asked. They'll open an investigation. With this evidence, Rachel and Kyle will likely be charged with attempted financial exploitation, conspiracy to commit fraud, possibly elder abuse. These are serious felonies in North Carolina. Ben spoke up. Or we can give them one more chance to incriminate themselves, set up a scenario where they think they've won, where they make their final move, and we catch them in the act. It makes the case absolutely airtight. What kind of scenario? I asked. Here's what we did. I called Rachel and Kyle over for dinner on a Sunday. I made pot roast, Linda's recipe. Over dinner, I acted confused. I forgot what day it was. I called Cameron by Michael's name. I seemed lost, disoriented. Rachel and Kyle exchanged glances. After dinner, I told them I'd been thinking about what Rachel had said about power of attorney. I think you're right, I said slowly. I have been forgetting things lately, getting confused. Maybe I do need help managing everything. I trust you, honey. You've been so good to me since your mother died. Rachel's eyes lit up. Actually lit up. Oh, Dad, she said, taking my hand. I'm so glad. We just want to take care of you. That's all we've ever wanted. I know, I said. I know you do. We scheduled it for the following Friday. Rachel said she'd bring the papers, have them notarized, get everything finalized. That Thursday night, I couldn't sleep. At 2 a.m., I went downstairs. The recording devices were running. I heard Rachel and Kyle in my living room. They thought I was asleep. It's done, Rachel was saying. He's signing everything tomorrow. The POA, the beneficiary forms, all of it. Thank fucking God, Kyle said. I talked to Dr. Reynolds. He can do the evaluation next Wednesday. He'll write it up as moderate dementia, unable to manage financial affairs. We file for guardianship immediately. And the accounts? Can we access them right away? The POA gives you access immediately. The beneficiary forms mean when he dies, it all comes to you anyway. But with the POA, we don't have to wait. We can start moving money next week. How much? I'm thinking we take $200,000 right away. Pay off our debts, buy a house. The rest we move slowly, so it doesn't trigger any alerts. What about Dad's expenses? The utilities, his food, everything? We'll pay the minimum, keep the lights on. But Rachel, he's going into a facility anyway. Valley View costs $2,800 a month. We can afford that easily. The rest is ours. He's going to be so angry, he won't be able to do anything about it. Once the guardianship is in place, we have complete control. He'll adjust. Old people adjust. I stood in the hallway, tears running down my face. Not tears of sadness, tears of rage. Friday morning, I woke up at 4 a.m. I made coffee. I opened my laptop, and I spent the next hour changing every single beneficiary on every account I had. My 401, my IRA, my pension, my life insurance. I removed Rachel's name from everything. I named Michael's 2 daughters as primary beneficiaries. 502, 525 split. I named Frank as backup. At 4:17 a.m., I clicked submit on the last form. Rachel had no idea. At 10 a.m., Rachel and Kyle arrived. She had a folder. Inside were the power of attorney forms, ready for my signature. But she didn't know that I'd invited other people too. Benjamin Hart, my lawyer. Patricia Morales, the investigator. Detective James Warren from Asheville PD. Sarah Chen from Adult Protective Services. And Frank, my friend, who happened to be a retired federal judge. When Rachel saw them coming up the walk, her face went white. Dad, what's going on? Sit down, Rachel, I said. My voice was steady. I'd prepared a script with Ben. I didn't deviate. Over the past month, I've been investigating suspicious activity regarding my finances and my safety. I've collected extensive evidence of attempted financial exploitation, conspiracy to commit fraud, and elder abuse. Kyle stood up. This is bullshit. We've been helping you. Sit down, Mr. Fletcher, Detective Warren said. It wasn't a request. We played the recordings. All of them. The conversations about declaring me incompetent, the plans to drain my accounts, the discussion of putting me in a cheap facility and keeping the rest for themselves. The talk with Dr. Reynolds about a fraudulent evaluation. Rachel's face went from white to red to a grayish color I'd never seen before. Kyle looked like he might throw up. Under North Carolina law, Detective Warren said, financial exploitation of an elderly or disabled person is a Class F felony. Attempted fraud is also prosecutable. Mr. Sullivan has provided substantial evidence for us to move forward with charges. Dad, Rachel's voice cracked. Dad, please. We weren't really going to do it. We were just talking. We're desperate. The house, the debt. We didn't know what else to do. You were going to take everything, I said quietly. Everything your mother and I spent our entire lives building. You were going to put me in a facility and take it all. For what? To pay for a house you couldn't afford? To maintain a lifestyle you haven't earned? Ben spoke up. Rachel Fletcher and Kyle Fletcher, you are hereby served with a cease and desist order. You are prohibited from contacting Mr. Sullivan, entering his property, or attempting to access any of his financial accounts. All documents you removed from this residence must be returned within 24 hours. Sarah Chen added, we'll also be conducting a full audit of Mr. Sullivan's finances to determine if any funds have been misappropriated already. Rachel started crying. You manipulative old bastard. You played us. You set us up. I protected myself, I said, from my own daughter. Do you understand what you've done? Not just the legal part. Do you understand that you destroyed our family for money? I'm sorry, Rachel sobbed. I'm so sorry. Dad, we were desperate. The pressure. I wasn't thinking clearly. You thought clearly enough to plan this for months. You thought clearly enough to find a corrupt doctor. You thought clearly enough to decide I was worth $1.5 million to you. That's the number I heard, Rachel. Is that what I am to you? A retirement plan? Cameron was waiting in the car outside. I was grateful he didn't have to see this. The police didn't arrest them that day. Financial crimes move slowly. But Detective Warren made it clear that charges were pending. They left. Rachel crying, Kyle silent and furious. The legal process took 6 months. Rachel and Kyle were formally charged with attempted financial exploitation of an elderly person, conspiracy to commit fraud, and attempted identity theft. Their lawyer negotiated a plea deal. 3 years probation, restitution of all my legal costs, which came to $28,000, mandatory financial counseling, and a permanent restraining order. No jail time. Ben said that was typical for first offenders who didn't actually succeed in stealing anything. I also sued them in civil court for emotional distress and attempted fraud. Won a judgment for $125,000. They'll be paying that off for the rest of their lives. But the money doesn't mean anything. None of it does. I sit in my house now, the house Linda and I bought 35 years ago, the house where we raised our children, where we grew old together, and I'm alone again. Frank still comes by twice a week. Ben checks in. I have my routines. Coffee on the back deck. Veterans Center on Mondays and Thursdays, but I don't get calls on Sunday evenings anymore. I don't have a grandson who comes over for homework help. I don't have a daughter who asks how I'm doing. Rachel sent a letter 2 months ago. She said she's in therapy. She said she's realized what she did. She said she wants forgiveness. Not now, but eventually. When I'm ready. I haven't responded. I don't know if I ever will. Michael's daughters came to visit last month. They're good girls. Women now, really. They thanked me for including them in the beneficiaries. They said they had no idea what Rachel was planning. They said they're sorry. Here's what I learned. Greed is a disease. It doesn't announce itself with symptoms. It creeps in slowly, disguised as worry, as helpfulness, as love. It tells itself it's doing the right thing. It might even believe it. The warning signs were there. I saw them. I felt them in my gut. The same instinct that kept me alive in the jungle in 1971. But I ignored it because I wanted to believe in my daughter. I wanted to believe that the little girl who used to fall asleep on my chest while I read her stories was still in there somewhere. Maybe she was once. Maybe the desperation and the debt turned her into someone else. I'll never know. What I do know is this. I protected myself. I did what I had to do, and I'd do it again. If you're reading this, if you're in a similar situation, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it is wrong. Document everything. Get professional help. Don't wait. Don't make excuses. Don't let guilt or love blind you to reality. Protect yourself, even if it means protecting yourself from family, especially if it means that, because at the end of the day, you only get one life, one home, one sense of dignity and self-worth. And nobody, not even your own children, has the right to take that from you for money. I'm 64 years old. I changed every beneficiary at 4:17 a.m. that morning, sitting alone in my kitchen with just the glow of the laptop screen and the certainty that I was doing the right thing. Rachel thought she'd inherit everything. She was wrong. And every morning when I sit on my back deck, drinking my coffee, watching the mist rise off the mountains that Linda loved so much, I'm glad I fought back. I'm glad I stood up for myself. Even if it cost me my daughter. Some things are worth more than money. And some battles are worth fighting, even when you lose something precious in the process.